Yo, what is going on today, guys? We're back here for another meta report, and yeah, we had two pretty decent big tournaments the other day. So we had like a 218 player tournament, which is the Froggy X, as you can see here. Then we also had the Magna $100 Cup with 330 entrants. So we're just gonna look at some interesting decks. We also had this other tournament which Godsley ran, which was like a $300 tournament, but for some reason you can't see anybody's decks or like metagames or anything. So that did happen, but because I can't access the data, we just will not be talking about it in this video. Anyways, let's start with the Froggy X. So the Froggy X tournament, like I said, I had like 218 players. It was won by, not a surprise, a Buzzwell player. So I guess we just look at the deck list real quick, just, you know, to compare, like, see like what's different than like the average, Buzzwell list. So this one was only two Pheromosas. So I feel like two Pheromosas is kind of picking up back in popularity just because there is so many Buzzwolves, and you know it's just better in the mirror match. Two Cyruses, two Ericas. You know what? I'm gonna be honest, bro. The one Lucamine I personally like too because I actually like to see it. But you know, if you are just like mainly playing the mirror match and like sniping a Pheromosa, setting a Buzzwole, does make sense. You don't really need two Buzzwoles like for the mirror match all the time. If you do have two Pheromosas and two Cyruses, then two hand disruptions, the Guzma, and then I'm assuming this is just only one Leaf Cave. That's pretty surprising. Usually I see people play either 1, 2, or 1 in a Rocky Helmet, but makes sense because they wanted definitely the room for the double Cyruses and the double Erica, so they had to cut something. I'm not surprised the tool cores were the ones that were cut. Besides that, bro, it looks like just like a pretty average Buzzwole list. It's just all the Buzzwole list spreads, just two Pheromosas or two Cortanas, or just one of each. And it's just not really much to talk about, bro, but congratulations on winning, of course. Then in second place, we had Dark Giratina, which we can just look at real quick also, just to see what variant it is, if it's pure or the poison version. Yeah, so it actually is the poison version. I don't think like pure Dark Giratina is really played anymore. I think it's like literally like only the poison version. But yeah, and it just looks like a pretty standard list. They have the support cards: Sabrina, Cyrus, Leaf, Guzma, Red, Mars, two poison barbs, and then the giant cape. It just looks like a very standard version of the list. So really nothing much to talk about. But obviously, you know, congratulations on getting second place. Yeah, then third place was obviously a Solgaleo Shiinotic, just out of curiosity, see if there's any interesting. All right, I was kind of curious if they had a tech to be able to beat Oricorio, and it looks like they actually do, bro. So now actually I'm kind of interested. Okay, so they are playing a Registeel instead. All right, you know, like the main things I've seen personally in Solgaleo builds, to be able to beat stuff like Oricorio is either obviously the Dusk main Necros, whatever the metal Necrozma is that was from the promo pack, or you know, we saw stuff like Magernia. So out of curiosity, bro, I just so this one 110 HP, 100 damage, but it doesn't discard a metal energy, and it is still 2 retreat cost. So I guess he's fine giving up the 10 extra damage. Just basically not having the discard energy in case like he maybe like leaves with Registeel, and he also needs to set up a Cosmog at some point or something like that. So I think that's just like probably the main reason. He just didn't want to like discard an energy. So I think it's a cool tech, you know, something we really haven't seen before. But you know, it's like I said, bro, it's basically the same thing as Dustmane Necrozma, so it kind of like makes sense why it is in here. Now, as you can see, like all the other stuff is kind of like basic, but there is something that's pretty interesting. One, Greninja Oricorio actually did pretty good, so I'm kind of curious on if it's playing Giratina or not. Yeah, so this is like the pretty much like average like new version of the Greninja Oricorio decks that I have seen, that they play Pikumuku and Giratina. Pikumuku is just nice, you know, when something knocks it out, it does do 50 damage, so it will basically get like so many things like in range, just get KO'd either by like Oricorio, like stuff like Oricorio would want to attack into, like for example like Cortana's, like Oricorio can then come in and knock it out, or something like, but like it can get like an EX Pokemon weak enough for Giratina to be able to knock it out. So I really like the addition of Pikumuku, bro, these decks now. Then we also just, you know, just besides that, just Cyrus, bro, like, or like the classic support cards, Cyrus and Irida, because we are playing water energy, Pokemon Center Lady, Guzma. I was curious on what energy they were playing, if they were playing triple, but it looks like they're just playing simply water and electric, which does make sense. I've seen some builds like try to play triple, bro, especially in ranked, you know, to charge up Giratina faster. But the fact that they're only playing one Giratina makes sense. It makes sense that they're not running the psychic injury, and then, you know, just Guzma Pokemon Center related to keep Oricorio alive. Giant Cape, red card for disruption, and yeah. But I think the next list that actually catches my eye is going to be this Incineroar Greninja deck right here. So first off, just before, I just want curiosity, what did they beat? So okay, so they beat a bunch of Charizard players. They beat a Greninja Oricorio. They lost to a Solgaleo. Makes sense. I mean, dude, Solgaleo, if they get set up 2 Solgaleos, what deck really is beating them, bro, consistently. Tied with a Buzzwole just to guarantee top cut, then just beat a bunch of Magna Zones. So looks like they actually dodged a bunch of Buzzwoles. Obviously they were playing Incineroar, so they probably would do good against Buzzwole. And they actually lost again to another Solgaleo, which is kind of interesting because like theoretically like Incineroar does do 160 damage to Solgaleo, but I guess if the Solgaleo does go second, bro, like you can't set up Incineroar that fast, and you just do take a lot of damage, so it kind of does make sense. But now going into the deck list, it's just going to be a 2-1-2 Incineroar, and then 2-1-2 for Greninja with the 2 rare candies, 2 Lilies, obviously, because we're playing only stage 2 Pokemon. I don't know, to find the pieces. Mars, Sabrina, Professor Research, and only 1 Pokeball. Okay. That is very interesting, bro. I guess they really wanted room for like something else, and I guess they just... I feel like the 1 Pokeball, bro, is kind of interesting, but I guess they really just wanted the room. They'd be able to play more cards because, they are playing 10 Pokemon. So if they wanted to fit in all these support cards like they do, they had to catch something, and I guess Pokeball makes I don't want to say makes the most sense, but I guess it is an option. Obviously, because there is so much like Pokemon in this deck, like I feel like a Giant Cape would look be really good in this deck. Just the lit, something like Greninja live like Buzzwoles or Solgaleo attacks, but obviously there just simply is no room. But I think it's just a cool deck, bro, that I ended up getting like what was it, like top 16 I think or something. Let's see. Yeah, they ended up making it into the top 16 with this deck, bro. I just thought it was cool because it's just something we've never seen before, bro. So it's like always just interesting to see these like new type of decks, bro, just like kind of like pop up towards like the end of the season. And you know what? Now that we looked at some of the cool deck lists, bro, we just look at the metagame for the Froggy X tournament. So Buzzwole, both the like multiple Cortana versions or just the 1-of-1 version, and then the Buzzwole Pheromosas with the double Pheromosas. Double Pheromosa actually had the higher win rate at 56% over 54%. So something to keep a note. Obviously, I think that probably is like the factor of just being better in the mirror match. Savali Rampardos actually having a very horrible time being the 3rd most represented deck, only with a 40% win rate. Same thing with like Solgaleo, Shiinotic, even though they get 3rd place, but like the overall more like most of them like didn't do good with like 45% win rate. Darkrai Giratina had actually, it looks like the highest win rate of like the most played decks. You can also say that about like Greninja or Ikorio, but obviously like there was more Darkrai Giratina, so I think having it 57% over like Greninja, like there's like 6 Greninja or Ikorio players that did good over like so I think Giratina Darkrai, mostly probably just like poison variants, was the most it was like the most represented deck that had the highest percent win rate. So I think that's like something to note because like I've been playing against that deck in a rank, dude, and like sometimes, dude, like if they just start Darkrai and have a poison bar with Nahelgo, and you don't have a Guzma or you just don't draw the Guzma in your deck, the deck kind of just shits on you, bro. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like there's been so many times I've simply lost because of that poison barb, and there's just like nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I think that's enough looking at the Froggy X. And then we just have like stuff like Charizard and Cinder did very bad. I'm not surprised, but I feel like that deck's low-key a scam. Has a problem of Oricorio existing. Guzzlord actually did very bad for having 11 players. I think 1 maybe did decent in the standings. Let me check real quick. Guzzlord, or maybe not. Maybe there's just... Oh yeah, Guzzlord had a rough time in this tournament, bro. Guzzlord did not do anything. I think the highest Guzzlord, 66th place. That's kind of crazy. There's actually one more deck now that I'm thinking about it, bro, that I did see that I wanted to look at. So this one got 31st. And it was just... It's just Serene Celebi, bro. It's kind of interesting, bro. We just, never seen it before. It's just kind of funny. With actually like 1 Sprigatito, bro. Just as like a way to search cards, bro. So, obviously, it didn't make it pretty far. Like, I don't know what top cut was for this tournament. Yeah, so actually top cut was top 32. And what did this deck get? I think it was like 30. What was it exactly 32, or did they like just barely miss it? Let's see. Damn, where is it? I can't see it, bro. I'm blind. Yeah, they got exactly, so they got 31st, bro. So this ended up making top cut. I just think it's cool, bro. It just looks like a fun coin flip deck. And I've realized myself, bro, that I'm a coin flipper, bro. So I think I just think it's cool, bro. I just think it's cool. As simply as that. So now if we move on to the Magma tournament that actually had more players, we can look at the metagame and comparing it to the Froggy X. So Pheromosa and the just other Buzzwole variants only had a 51% win rate each of them. So that's like what, I think like 5% less than the other ones. Yeah, like 3 to 5%. And then Savali Charizard actually did like way better in this tournament. Darkrai Giratina also had like a pretty good win rate, still at 52. It's not 57 like the other one, but still positive. Rampardo still in the negative 47, same as Solgaleo and Shiinotic. But the difference is Guzzlord and Nahelgo actually had a 54% win rate this time. which, you know, is actually in the positive compared to, like, I think it had like 20%, dude, in the Frog EX, if we can go back and look at it. Yeah, it had like a 24% win rate, dude. So like definitely Guzzlord performed way better at this tournament. Whether that just be the players got way more lucky, or they just had a better bracket path, who knows. Savali's Aurora also did pretty good. Same with Blastoron, Lollipop, Savali Oricorio, all these. Greninja Oricorio actually had a worse performance in this tournament, even though there was like the same amount of players. Guzzlord and Nagano, only 4 representatives, but they did pretty decent as well. Yeah, so now if we actually look at the standings, yeah, so Guzzlord actually ended up winning. We can just look at the list right now. So we had Guzzlord EX, just Nihilego and Celesteela. Poison Barb and then the B site, just to let Guzzlord or Nihilego do that extra like 10 or 20 damage. You will need to like knock something out. But besides that, like Lucid Means, Pokemon Center Ladies, Poison Barb, Mara, Cyrus, Sabrina, nothing really special about this deck. It just looks like a pretty average, like standard like Guzzlord deck. Which is nothing wrong with that statement, by the way. There's just nothing wrong. I mean, if it works, it works. Like, there's no reason to have some secret tech when, like, this is like, I've seen like a lot of them basically playing the B side now, which I think was a card like people weren't playing at the beginning, but especially in the Guzzlord deck, I feel like a lot more people are starting to run this in this version specifically because, you know, you do have the extra room of no Nagandal. Then besides that, we just have Giratina Darkrai in second place once again. Yeah, it's just the poison variant. I don't really want to talk about it, but they all look the same, to be honest. But we do have this Shiinotic Magnezone Oricorio deck that is starting to pop up. So I actually played around with the deck like 2 days ago in ranked. I won like a 5, 6, or like 7 win streak, something around that range, and I ended up getting like 1890. Because I feel like the deck either pops off and you get like 2 Shiinotics right away and you just have 2 Magnezones and you sweep, or you start the game going first against a Savali with 1 Magnezone, or not my Magnezone, obviously a Magnemite, and you never draw another basic Pokemon and you lose the game. Like, I feel like this deck either God hands or bricks. I feel like there's just no in between. I feel like I've never had a game where like it was just decent. I feel like I've only had a game where I swept or I just hard lost. So obviously Shiinotic is there, like the Solgaleo deck, just buying all the pieces you want to get the Magnezone as fast as you want. Oricorio is just nice because, you know, it's an electric energy deck, so you can't slide an Oricorio to be able to either stall time or just wall off something like Solgaleo. Professor Research, Guzma, Pokemon Center Lady, Cyrus, Sabrina, Pokeball, and Giant Cape. Yeah, looks just like pretty standard like support card ratio. Because you don't need like something like Iona or Pokecom, because obviously we have the Shiinotics banking on you actually drawing it. And then you know, Magazone is just so powerful, bro. You like don't really need something. Giant Cape is nice on Magnezone. You either like one, if you don't have the Guzma and you like run into like the Rocky Helmet, like something with the Rocky Helmet, you want to attack and like be able to like live a 120 attack still. So going to 160 is nice. Also lets you live a Stoke Charizard attack, and you might not come up the most because, you know, it has to be like a certain scenario. You have to not take damage. But theoretically, if you do have a Shiinotic that is at full HP, you can't put a Giant Cape on to live a Savali attack. Obviously, if they don't have a Geo to stall your time or something, bro, as well. So that is like the use of the 1 Giant Cape down here. But I personally am not a big fan of this deck. I know it is really good. I know a lot of people are having success. There was actually like a Japanese player on Twitter, bro, who went on like a 21 win streak with a similar version. The only difference is they played a Lily instead of Pokemon Center, and that was the version I was playing. And like I said, bro, I went on like an 8, like I went like a 6, 7 win streak, and then I ended up bricking like 4 games in a row, and I just stopped playing the deck, bro, because I feel like it was just like too. Like, I know like it's, you have Shiinotic, so it's supposed to be consistent, but I just felt like the deck, like it just, for me personally, it just bricked a lot, which I think it's just more of my playstyle. I think I like to play decks that like I don't have to rely on like drawing something like Shiinotic to be able to do good. Plus, I just feel like I feel like I'm very unlucky just playing Magnezone. Like, I just feel like every time I play a Magnezone deck, it just feels like a scam to me, and I never get Magneton or like Magnezone, but like turn 2 or bro, like more often than not. Then, you know, we just have Buzzwole, Solgaleo, Darkrai. We have actually a Charizard Wigglytuff, which is very surprising. Okay, so it's literally just Charizard that does not want to die. That is just what it is, bro. 2 Lilies, Wigglytuff. You just basically are banking on just going into Charizard or 2 Charizards, not letting it die. Theoretically, you know, Wigglytuff does have 100 HP, does have 50 damage. If you actually have like a Wigglytuff in the bench and then you actually have a Wigglytuff in the active, you know, you can live multiple Oricorio attacks, because that is a way to deal with Oricorio in this deck. Yeah. So it's just a funny Charizard deck. You know, if you get everything working, bro, I feel like it'd be very annoying, especially for a lot of decks in the meta, to be able to KO that Charizard. Then we actually have this Dialga Arceus deck down here, bro, which is going to be really interesting. So I actually got smoked by Dialga Arceus Rayquaza deck one time on ranked around like top 500. So this is like a Savali variant. Obviously Savali is just better for like stuff like Oricorio, plus he's just better by itself, like it's his own engine. So 2 Type Note, 2 Savali, 2 Dialga, 2 Arceus. You have the Illumas, bro, which is cool. So you can use something like Type Note or Savali or Arceus in the active spot to stall and set up something in the back if you don't want to go straight on the offensive with them, or if you know you get like a bad start. Then Cyrus Mars, you have the 1 Leaf and the Illuma. So like if you do have a bad start, or like if you, let's say like you go second, bro, you get Dialga, but then you get a Type Note and you have Savali. Like you can't just leaf out further to Savali, which is cool. In case you don't want to like go for like a ramp up play, then you know just the 1 Gladion only, because you know you have like you do have the Savali package, but you don't only have the Savali package. Then 2 Pokeballs, 2 Giant Capes. Giant Capes, you know, just good on Savali, lets you like live like 120 attack spread full HP. It's just, so I thought it was like a very interesting deck, right? It's actually something I'm like kind of like contemplating on, bro, and like trying on rank, but I'm also scared of trying it, bro, just because I'm afraid of losing points because I'm at like 19-13 right now. But it looks like a really fun deck, dude. That would just like kind of like, I feel like if you have like the godlike hands draft, like this deck would kind of just be like, I don't know, just like it just looks really strong, bro, and interesting. Then I think the last interesting deck that has been kind of like, I've been looking at it, bro, and like before I started recording, bro, I wanted to look at it, but I haven't looked at it yet. Oh, Palkia Savali deck down here. Okay, this is kind of what I was thinking. So yeah, 2 Savalis, 2 Palkias, 2 Manaphy's actually. Misty, Leaf, 2 Gladion, Sabrina. Okay, so just looks like a pretty standard Savali deck that just lost in 2 Palkias and a Manaphy. I mean, dude, I was kind of saying that in my EX tier list video. I feel like Palkia is actually like pretty strong. The problem with Palkia is it's hard to ramp it up, and Manaphy is not the best because Savali kind of shits on it. But you like going second, dude. I mean, Manaphy still does live a hit. Stuff like Skarmory isn't meta. Like we don't really have like 50. Like I don't think we have like any meta relevant Pokemon that do 50 damage in 1 turn. Like I guess like a Savali or like a Type No landing heads with a Geo could be something. But you'd always like put a like Giant Keep if you are like really playing around that situation. But I just think it's cool, bro. You know, I'm a fan of Palkia out of all the water types, where it's like probably like my favorite water type. And yeah, it's just interesting, bro. We can even like look at the matchup charts first too, or like the matchups they had to go through. Damn, yeah, they made it pretty far. So they lost the Guzzlord. You know, I'm not kind of surprised. I'm gonna be honest, because 1, they could either ground core the energy away on Palkia. 2, I think Guzzlord is really good in the Savali. So I'm not surprised that it lost that. Also lost the Topic of Magnezone. You know, it is a water deck at the end of the day. Plus Magnezone is really good into Savali, so I'm not kind of surprised. But it beats stuff like other Savali decks, Giratina Savali, Savali Oricorio, Solgaleo actually, which is, I mean, makes sense. I mean, if you can get like Palkia charges up, bro. And then you have the Giant Capes to live with Savali too, attack. It beat Gallade, Stoutland, bro. It's annoying. Lost to Buzzwole, but then ended up beating 2 Buzzwoles before losing to another one up here. So you did pretty good, bro. I mean, it went 8-4. It's not bad with a deck that's like not just played. It's like a, I feel like I saw this at the very beginning of the season, someone like making a deck list of this, bro, but it like never really like went off and like did anything. Anyways, I think that does it for the meta report. Just, you know, looking at these 2 tournaments, looking at some cool decks, you know, just like the first place, and just like the meta reports. So I hope you guys do enjoy the video. And yeah, I guess let me know in the comments like if you think any of these decks are interesting or not. Yeah, I don't know, man. Just peace out. Have a lovely day, bro. Just peace out.